Goodness gracious, my friends. It's here. UFC 259, fight card of the year. 15 fights, not many of which are expected to finish, but many opportunities to be had. Let's kick things off here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank MMA Oddsbreaker for hosting the show, as well as BetDSI. 15 bouts, as I previously mentioned. First fight on the card, we've got Trevin Jones taking on Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista is coming off of a significant layoff where he suffered a pectoralis major injury, and still 27 years old, 8-1 record, MMA lab fighter. If you're playing DraftKings, 9,100, minus 240 favorite. Fantastic striker, throws caution to the wind at times. Trevin Jones, on the other hand, he has a slick jiu-jitsu game that many are not aware of. Black belt under Drysdale, 12-6 overall record, 7,100 plus 195 underdog, 30 years of age for Mr. Trevin Jones. Now, I think he had a raw deal last time out, taking the short notice bout versus Timur Valiev. Really got completely destroyed in that fight. That fight could have been stopped a couple of times. You watch it back, and Jones ate the kitchen sink and came back, and he landed a barrage of punches on Valiev and took him out of there. He'll need to do the same on Bautista here. Bautista is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Now, Jones could potentially try to take this fight to the ground. I do see this being a stand-up affair. I see Mario Bautista, his volume, being a difference maker in this spot. Also, he actually had a decent showing against Corey Sandhagen in his debut. I like Bautista in this spot. I'll be picking him to win. Next up, we head to the men's lightweight division, where we have Ulberg-Nzechukwu taking on Aljamain Cruz. Aljamain Cruz, saw him lose last time out to Spike Carlisle. He's a perennial featherweight coming up to 155 pounds, where we have on the other side of the fight Ulberg-Nzechukwu, who has taken a fight at middleweight and now is all the way down at lightweight. Nzechukwu, King's MMA fighter, 27 years of age, 8,900 in DraftKings, minus 175 betting favorite. Diverse striker in Nzechukwu. Will look to push a pace against Aljamain Cruz, who is also fairly long, tall fighter. Will look to implement a kicking game, stay at range. Cruz, 7,300 plus 145 underdog. This fight line has closed slightly. I'll be picking Nzechukwu in this spot. I think he is the more diverse skill set with a better corner. And I know there's still some, the jury's still out on Nzechukwu. Still has something to prove with only a 6-0 record, but I think we can take our chances here with Nzechukwu. Let's keep going, my friends. Let's go fight number 3, where we have Livian Souza taking on Amanda Lemos. Lemos, props to those who got in when she was at the dog price or close to it. Now, Lemos sitting at minus 235, betting favorite 8,700. This is a young lady who has dropped multiple weight classes. Souza, record looks great. You look at her grappling chops, she's got some jiu-jitsu and judo in her back pocket, though she's been out-muscled in previous fights. 7,500 plus 190 underdog for Souza. Souza coming off of a win over Ashley Yoder, which in my eyes doesn't say much. But then you also look at Amanda Lemos, and she has a couple of recent victories since dropping down to the lower weight classes here. The Granger victory. And I'll be picking Amanda Lemos here. I think that she's going to be the stronger, more powerful fighter with a adequate stand-up game. If this fight does hit the mat, she has a capable jiu-jitsu game as well. So give me Amanda Lemos in that spot. Next up, we head to welterweights, where we have Jake Matthews, who, you watch Jake Matthews fight, he really is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of fighter. Sometimes you get a great showing, sometimes he comes out flat. 6,900 plus 175 underdog. Fairly impressive record still at 17-4. He's facing a Philadelphia fighter in Sean Brady, who is coming in with a unblemished 13-0 record. 9,300 minus 215 betting favorite for Sean Brady. This is a fascinating matchup because you got to wonder what you're going to be getting out of Jake Matthews. What you get is a inconsistent effort, and I spent a lot of time watching the tape on this fight, and you see Sean Brady. He doesn't make many mistakes out there, and Jake Matthews, I suspect he's going to come out here dialed in for the first 5 or so minutes, and then we're going to see the in-fight decision-making of Sean Brady break away. And I'll be picking Sean Brady. I think he's the more well-rounded, trusted fighter, even though he only has a few showings in the UFC. You watch what he brings to the table. I know Paul Felder has spoken highly of him throughout his journey. I don't think we're going to see a finish here, though. There could be a submission. I'll be picking Sean Brady. Next up, where we have probably the sketchiest fight on the card here, where we have Kennedy-Nzechukwu taking on Carlos Ulberg. Nzechukwu is a Fortis MMA fighter who has let a lot of people down, though he's spent a lot of time away from the cage since his last loss to Paul Craig. 7,200 plus 210 underdog on that side of the fight. Ulberg, only a 3-0 record in mixed martial arts, does have a kickboxing background, tends to really load up on his strikes. City kickboxing fighter, $9,000 minus 260 betting favorite. I think this line is very wide considering where Kennedy's coming from and the time off. I think that he could be a bit of a live underdog in this spot. Although I've seen his in-fight decision-making rear its ugly head throughout his young career. And at 7-1, you've got a 7-1 fighter taking on a 3-0 fighter. As I mentioned before, Ulberg really loads up on his strikes, and he's asking to be countered in spots like these. I will be picking Ulberg, but this is a fight where I believe there is a unpredictability factor in that bout. Next up, we head to the men's flyweight division, where we have Jordan-Espinosa taking on Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott, a seasoned veteran, 16 wins, but he also has 11 losses on his professional record. Tim Elliott, what can you trust out of him? You can trust that he's going to give you a grade A effort. You can also trust that there'll be some bonehead maneuvers in his fights. You watch the Askarov fight, he walked straight into punches. He gives up positions. He puts himself in spots when he fought Figueiredo where put himself right into that guillotine. He's taking on a Jordan-Espinosa with a 15-8 record, who did not look great on the scales. $8,000 minus 110 for Espinosa. Tough. This is a tough spot here because Espinosa has fallen short in previous spots. He does have power. He could potentially catch Elliott here. Elliott, he will fight for your money. That's what I'll say about Tim Elliott. You watch the Royval fight. That was the first time I've seen him really gas out before. And I think that since he's back with James Krause, we can count on another grade A effort. But this fight is, in my eyes, the definition of a pick'em. I'll be leaning to Tim Elliott here. Tough to trust him, but I'll be picking Tim Elliott. I think that his pace is going to help, and that should be a difference maker down the stretch. Next up, we head to the flyweight division again, where we have Rogerio-Bontorin taking on Kara-France. Bontorin 16-2 record, 7,700 plus 105 at the betting window. Now, Bontorin opened up as a significant underdog. Kara-France 21-9 record, does not have a great ground game. France, and what he doesn't have in his ground game, he makes up for it in his stand-up. He comes out looking to land volume. He's not the heaviest puncher. He tries to be, but has difficulty getting his opponents out of there. 8,500 minus 135 for Kara-France. Now, you break down the tape here, and you see a Bontorin who, if he can get this fight to the ground, he has trouble closing distance. He's not the fleetest of foot, but if he gets this fight to the mat, there is a massive difference in skill set there. Also, I believe the strength factor. Bontorin should be the much stronger fighter here. He is a Brazilian brawler, but the key is he going to be able to catch and get to Kara-France to get those takedowns? Because Kara-France in the smaller octagon is going to be looking to use his wheels, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Bontorin is coming off of an ankle injury. I don't trust Kara-France in this spot. I actually am leaning to the underdog here, and I'll be flat out picking Rogerio-Bontorin. You watch the Bibalov fight, and he surprised a lot of people in that spot. We haven't seen him since his bout versus the Tasmanian Devil, Ray Borg. And he was taken down by an overweight Ray Borg. Completely different fight here. So Bontorin is going to be my pick. Next up, we have the third consecutive flyweight bout of the evening, where we have Joseph Benavidez coming off of those brutal losses to the champion, Figueiredo, taking on Askarov. Askarov, a 13-0-1 record. Askarov missed weight, 8,300 minus 130. Betting favorite. Don't let the physique fool you of Askarov. He is a phenomenal fighter, though he has issues on the defensive side when he's facing opportunistic, aggressive wrestlers. He's been taken down in a number of occasions. He's been held down. Early in fights, he looks very impressive, but he's waned down the stretch. The Tim Elliott fight's a little bit of an anomaly because you have Tim Elliott who basically walked forward with his head down. You have the Pantoja fight for Askarov, where that was a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. Askarov barely did enough to get by one of the premier flyweights in the game, and he just seems to be on the wrong side of a number of scrambles. And he's going to be fighting a Joseph Benavidez here, who's coming in with a 28-7 record, 7,900 plus 100 in at the betting window over at BetDSI. But how much does Benavidez have left in his tank? That is the question. Benavidez is chinny at this stage in his career. He has some defensive liabilities on the feet. But if this was a strict grappling match, I know Askarov has his own a lot of chops, a lot of submissions, twister submissions, etc. But if this was a strict grappling affair, I would be picking Benavidez. I think that his motor is just, even at 36 years of age, is much better than Askarov. I think that Askarov has been tightening his stand-up game, and I'll be ever so slightly picking Askarov, but Benavidez is a very live dog here. If he isn't shot to bits after that last knockout or that last submission loss, he was basically choked unconscious, eyes rolled back in his head. If he's got anything left, then he should make this a fight. If he gets knocked out, then so be it. But I'll be picking Askarov, and with not with much confidence. Next up, men's bantamweights. Song Yadong, 16-4-1 record, who really, when you watch his fights, he's been facing serious adversity for a while now. 8,800, minus 160, the Cody Stamann fight, the Marlon Vera fight. Team Alpha Male, heavy hitter, taking on Kyler Phillips, MMA Lab fighter. MMA Lab has 3 guys coming in to this card. Kyler Phillips is one of them. He'd been getting ready with Mario Bautista and Casey Kenney. One thing also about Mario Bautista, he'd been waiting on the sidelines since January for this one. Got that call. Now Kyler Phillips is somebody also who has a motor similar to Benavidez, in that he has a gas tank and a motor and a jiu-jitsu game. 7,400 plus 130 underdog. So you look at value on DraftKings, Kyler Phillips could be that guy for you if he's able to take Song Yadong down and push a pace on him. Song Yadong is going to look to stop Kyler Phillips in his tracks. Now, is he going to be able to do that? I think so. After watching the tape, his striking is up to snuff. Seems to be getting better fight in and fight out. I think we're going to see a rejuvenated Song Yadong here. And I'll be picking Song Yadong to land the much heavier strikes and to come in dialed in here. Now, if Song Yadong if his accuracy is suffering and he's missing on his shots, Kyler Phillips could make him pay for that by the way of taking him down and out-grappling him. Now, once Kyler Phillips leaves that cage, so I'm picking Song Yadong. Once Kyler Phillips leaves that cage, his partner in crime, Casey Kenney, will be entering the octagon to take on Dominick Cruz. This is our featured preliminary bout of the evening, where we have a 16-2-1 Casey Kenney, who looks undersized headed into this matchup, but as I mentioned in previous podcasts, that something to consider is that the tail of the tape, people are going to put a lot of stock into that. And in this spot, I don't think they should, because we have a Casey Kenney who has a incredibly high work rate at 29 years old, taking on a seasoned veteran of the sport, Dominick Cruz, who has phenomenal footwork. He wrote the book in mixed martial arts on footwork. 8,100 plus 110 underdog. So those who are on Dominick Cruz, I'm sure, believe they're getting value in this spot on him against someone who could potentially be unproven in Casey Kenney. Casey Kenney, minus 140 at the betting window, 8,100 also in DraftKings. You look at the ascension of Casey Kenney and you watch his fight against Merab Dvalishvili, that will be a test for anybody. The machine. Merab did a number on Casey Kenney, but Casey Kenney came back. He fought Manny Bermudez. He's fought Ray Borg. That's how he got a shot into the UFC. Took on fighters who had come in overweight in his bouts. The Nathaniel Wood fight, he really impressed me after that short turnaround after landing so many leg kicks on Alatang. Dominick Cruz is the master of game plans. I have no doubt that he is going to come in completely prepared for this bout. Just a matter of can he keep up with the pace of Casey Kenney, who has a chin, is going to look to be comfortable wherever this fight goes. One thing that we may see is look for Dominick Cruz to simply win rounds here. It's not that simple, though. He's going to have to work. And Dominick Cruz, he uses his footwork as a way to he's almost like a puppeteer out there, pulling the strings, putting fighters into positions where he can set up traps and then land, get in, and get out. Casey Kenney, I believe, is going to be prepared for that. Dominick Cruz has to be prepared for the kicking game of Casey Kenney. I think we're going to see Casey Kenney come out here and win this one by a well-rounded effort. I think that Dominick Cruz is going to be looking to land volume, looking to pull away as rounds tick on. But Casey Kenney, I think, is going to be frustrating Dominick Cruz at times. And that chin, I think, of Kenney is going to be holding up here. So give me Casey Kenney in a decision victory. Next up, we head to the men's light heavyweight division, where we have Alexander-Rakic taking on Thiago Santos. Alexander-Rakic, 8,600 minus 165. Betting favorite. This fight's not expected to go to a decision, my friends, at minus 195. Thiago Santos, 7,600 plus 135 underdog. Rakic has the better ground game in this spot, also has the ability to get fights to the mat. One thing I want to mention about this fight, though, is you have a Thiago Santos who is going to be looking to land. And you watch Alexander-Rakic's fights coming up, he's going to have to get this fight to the mat, because Rakic is a liability on the feet as far as I'm concerned. I think that we're going to see Thiago Santos. I know he's had the knee surgeries, and he was thoroughly out-grappled by Glover Teixeira at one point. I think we're going to see Thiago Santos come out here and land something big and knock out Rakic. I just, ever since this fight was announced, I watched the tape. I was like, oh man, Rakic leaves himself out there sometimes. So he's got to come in and try to change things up and be unpredictable and try to take this fight to the mat. That's his chance here. Next up, we head to the men's lightweight division, where we have Islam Makhachev taking on Drew Dober. Islam Makhachev, 18-1 record. Now that Khabib is retired, look for Makhachev to try to make a move here, and Drew Dober is in his way. Drew Dober, 23-9 record. Drew Dober, Muay Thai fighter out of Colorado, who has an iron will, has a great gas tank, and really is going to look to try to be the spoiler here at 6,800 plus 320. Makhachev, 18-1 record, 9,400 in DraftKings, minus 430 betting favorite. So he is one of the heaviest favorites on this card, other than Amanda-Nunes. Makhachev, he's going to look to land takedowns and accrue control time. Should be interesting to see what kind of DraftKings score he puts up if he's able to do that. Keep an eye out for the new scoring system in DraftKings. Makhachev, you watch back his fight against Chris Wade and others. Arman, he's a fantastic grappler, and I do not want to see him testing things on the feet. So he's going to look to get this fight to the mat and stay dominant from a positional perspective. Don't force the issue. Do what you got to do. I see some folks are considering Drew Dober live. He could be, but much more likely outcome is Islam Makhachev to win a decision. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 135. So line isn't that wide in that regard. Next up, we have the people's main event, where we have Petr taking on Aljamain Sterling. Aljo coming in with a significant reach advantage here. Minus 110 at the betting window for Sterling, 7,700 in DraftKings, 19-3 records. So you see Sterling is a winner out there. Last loss we saw him take was against Marlon Moraes, and that was a while ago now. He's put on some spectacular efforts and executed some tremendous game plans. He's going to need one here against Petr, who has a 15-1 record, has fought significant competition in Russia, 8,400 minus 120 for Petr, who we have a pick'em here. This fight should be fantastic. I'm glad it's for the belt. I'm glad this is 5 rounds. If this was 3 rounds, this was a 3-round fight, I think we'd see Aljo be the favorite here. The thing about this being 5 rounds, you're going to look to see Aljamain Sterling stay at range and then be unpredictable. So he could come in and look for a takedown, look to find the back of Jan and smother him, be long. That's the problem. If you're Petr is guys in the training room. I know he's doing this camp at ATT, but there are not many body types at the 135-pound division like Aljo, what he brings to the table. So competent fighter, somebody who's won me a tremendous amount of money in the past for Aljo. In DraftKings, he's been it's interesting. He's started out as low volume, wouldn't put up a lot of points, but recently he's kind of turned the corner. And he has Matt Serra and Ray Longo in his corner, taking on Petr, who is the ultimate weapon. You watch his fight against Faber. I mean, Faber was on his way out. You watch the fight against Jimmy Rivera. When he needed the knockdowns, he got him. You watch his fight against Jose Aldo. You know that the balance, the fluidity, the killer instinct. He can take this fight wherever it goes. He's competent and capable. And that's one of the reasons I'll be picking. I know this might come as a surprise to some folks, but after doing all the homework, I feel like the slight edge here is Petr. I think that he could potentially come out and surprise a lot of people here, especially the longer the fight goes. Keep an eye out for either 3rd, 4th, or 5th round Petr stoppage victory. If that doesn't happen, though, I don't see Jan getting stuck at range and picked apart. He's too intelligent of a fighter for that to happen. He will find ways to get inside. This fight is a pick'em. I could see Aljo coming out and pulling this one out by either decision or potentially the ground game. We know Aljo has a great ground game and has a great submission game. So he could potentially do that. But I'll be picking Petr Yan in that spot. I think he has too many tools. He's the better athlete, and he has that gas tank. He gets better as the fight goes on, and seems to, if he senses an ounce or an inkling of weakness, he will torch you. But I'll be picking Petr Yan, but I know that Aljo is not out of this fight whatsoever. Next up, we have a fight that really shouldn't be happening. We have Amanda Nunes taking on Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson, a 10-4 mixed martial arts record, 6,600 plus 600 at the betting window. Nunes, 20-4, 9,600 minus 1,200 favorite. How long is it going to take Nunes to take Megan Anderson down? That's the question. And once she has Anderson on the ground, I doubt we'll see Anderson getting back up. There should be props on that. Is Megan Anderson able to get back up? Because she's like a skyscraper out there. Once she comes crumbling down, that's it. You watch the fight against Holly Holm. You watch the fight against Spencer. It's like watching a warm knife cut through butter. I know she's got James Krause, one of the best in the game, in her corner, but unless barring a freak incident like what we saw in the Kat Zingano fight, where Kat took a toe to the eyeball, I do not see Megan Anderson winning this fight. I know she's a big lady for the division. Don't let the tail of the tape fool you. Amanda Nunes is the real deal here, and she is one of the greatest of all time at the division. There are no certainties in this game, though, but I'll be picking Amanda Nunes inside the distance. I also think she is one of the top DraftKings plays of the night, despite that tremendous price tag. Next up, we have light heavyweights. Main event of the evening, my friends. We are here. Israel Adesanya taking on Jan Blachowicz. Blockovich coming in 27-8 record. He's been counted out many times before. Israel Adesanya coming up to light heavyweight, weighed in less than the 205-pound limit. That doesn't concern me in this spot. 9,200 for Adesanya, minus 235 at the betting window. You have the Polish power in Blachowicz, who is a plus 190 underdog again. I know he took a devastating finish loss to Thiago Santos a few years ago, and he's lost to Pat Cummins in the past. Here, you look at the face-offs and you see the skull of Blachowicz. He's going to look to pick his spots here. If this fight does hit the mat, Jan Blachowicz has a significant advantage. You watch his previous fights, he does have a competent ground game and could pose real problems there for Adesanya. He also has legitimate knockout power. Adesanya is going to look to be evasive, put on a clinic from a striking perspective, and make it look pretty. And that's what he likely will do. I'll be picking Israel Adesanya, but I know that there are no certainties in this game, and Blachowicz is a live underdog in this spot. I think that if he's able to weather a storm, it's tough to knock Blachowicz out. You look up and down his record. The guy's competed forever, and he's rarely gets finished. So this is upper weight division. I'll be picking Adesanya to win. something to keep an eye on is if Adesanya really starts gets going and starts humming out there and starts landing. Blockovich looked like he had some sort of cut on him at weigh-ins and face-offs, and I think that we may see Adesanya come and look to try to pick Blachowicz apart. And the longer this goes, there may be a stoppage in play late. But I'll be picking Adesanya to win. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. You can check out my plays. I got 6 plays up tonight at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. I'm third-party tracked at betmma.tips. You can follow me on Twitter. You can enjoy tonight's fight. That's what this is all about. Goodness gracious, we made it. 15 fights. Going to get this video up right now, and want to wish everybody a tremendous fight day. Go get what's yours, my friends. This is why we do what we do, baby.